Hello YouTube, welcome to yet another new video. Today's video, I'll be doing a comprehensive ranking of every year in the Cars diecast mainline with a detailed explanation as to why each year is ranked where it is and my thoughts on them. This video I've wanted to do for quite a while and it's taken me a week to work on the script alone. So before I start, I want to give a massive thank you to one of my closest friends and fellow Collectors Link member, Sensei Luminous, for helping me out with the video and helping me come up with pros and cons of each year. And we brought a lot of had a big discussion point for us. Each year we really had in-depth discussion about what went right, what went wrong, and it really helped me out with the video, so thank you very much to him for that. So let's get right into it. So first off, in 17th place, we have the 2022 mainline. And I'm not going to get into it much because I've written so much about it that I'm having a whole nother video to make just with my 2022 mainline ranking. Overall, it's been a horrible year so far. Mattel's really let us down on this one. And overall, I give it a 3.5 out of 10. Coming in at 16th place, we have the 2018 mainline. 2018 was quite a turbulent year for cars. We started off with some great new releases such as Fan Scanlane, Honk Cho, and Rev Roadages. And we got even more collector cars with some really unique ones for collectors such as Greg Candyman and Lewis Hamilton. Additionally, we saw the welcome return of card artworks after the absences in the Cars 3 mainline, even if said artwork on the card was smaller than they could have been in 2018. However, it only got worse from here. Distribution was at the worst it's ever been throughout the history of the entire line. There's even a case that was only released in Europe. The point where the only thing that saved it was to move almost all of the lines to Thailand, which in turn resulted in the diecasts themselves being much worse quality, with blurry decals, eyelid plates, and shoddy paint jobs. Additionally, the mainline remained far too centric around Cars 3, with the majority of releases coming from said movie. The Fireball Beach races were a very poorly done side series, with the majority of releases being near identical to their original counterparts. The Thomasville Tribute series, however, made up for it with their vivacious releases and designs. The mini races ramped up their releases as well, truly cementing their place as a staple of the line. Towards the end of the year, in mid-October, we got Megan Shifter, the first new piston cut pity since 2010, which was most certainly a welcome release and one that fans absolutely rejoiced. Ultimately, the 2018 mainline had far more negatives than positives, and I give it a 4.5 out of 10. Boy oh boy. Next, at 15th place, we're coming in with the 2020 mainline. And to say the least, it was a very interesting year for the mainline. It got off to a great start. Some excellent re-releases such as Bruce Boxman, Chief Chick, Old School Ramon, Fighting Face Mater, Harvey Rodcap, and the Sappy Mouth Mater. Mattel even surprised us by releasing some previously cancelled releases, those being Nicky B, Corporal Josh Kuhn, and Fair Game, all of which were some of the most in-demand releases of the year. And some of the new releases that we got were quite nice as well, such as Cupcake Light McQueen, Jonas Carvers, Ray Reverham and Laura Spinwell, and Dale Ruffalo. As someone who's a long-time Gaskets fan, I'm so happy that we got another Gaskets team member. I was certainly glad to see the mainline move away from its focus on Cars 3, something which it maintained throughout the year. However, then the COVID-19 pandemic began, which resulted in the quality of the releases dropping quite a bit. Most of the year's new releases from here on out were repaints, with a particular focus on metallic and silver cars, and the Rusty's Racing Centre trainees. But once again, the haulers got neglected, with John Halstead being the only new hauler. Distribution was also at a substandard level, with some cases being extremely easy to find in certain parts of the world and being near extinct in others. The Blue Desert car design was kept from 2019, which made it very easy to confuse a 2019 release for a 2020 release and vice versa. Mattel also fulfilled the obligation to release a Super Chase by attempting to brand a metallic release as one, that being metallic transforming light queen. Mattel's probable excuse for making a super chase is they made both the red and blue metallic instead of just one colour. It will likely go down as one of the weakest super chases, second only to Cruise Mirrors' Crazy 8 Francis Beltline. It was a very disappointing excuse for what ultimately turned out to be the final super chase. However, the pandemic didn't spell doom and gloom for the line. We've got the first few endurance races, which remain one of the most interesting spin-off lines with their metallic colour shifting paint. We've also got a few great re-releases such as Boost, Wingo, Ben Dorden, and Ballast Danger Fenwick Missile. The return of colour changes after not getting any since 2015, with the exception of a failed relaunch in 2019, in which we only got 2 new releases, Jack Storm and Dinoco Cruz Ramirez. It was also nice to see. Despite the setbacks and disappointment brought along this year's mainline, it ultimately thrived during a time plagued with stay-at-home orders and constant supply chain disruptions that continue to this day. They managed to continuously release and sell lots of products. While it certainly could have been much better, Mattel did great in this year's mainline if you take the pandemic into consideration. All things considered, I give it a 5 out of 10. Coming in at 14th place, we have the 2012 mainline. 2012 was certainly a very disappointing year for Cars. The Cars 2 mainline was once again the mainline this year, making it very easy to confuse 2011 releases for 2012 releases and vice versa. The distribution was also very poor, with countless releases only being available in certain regions, and therefore skyrocketing in price. However, it wasn't entirely doom and gloom. We finally got Rip Klutchkaneski, the final World Grand Prix racer, even if he was near impossible to find. We also got the Radiator Springs Classic sub-series, which brought with it a return of some classic releases from the first movie. We also got some great new releases to the Cars 2 mainline, such as Sir Harley Gas Up and Petro Cardellina. Overall, I feel the 2012 mainline has more negatives than positives, and I give it a 5 out of 10. Coming in at 13th place, we have the 2017 mainline. So the 2017 mainline was an absolute roller coaster. First off, we had the pre-Cars 3 line, which, despite having very few new releases, brought a lot of great re-releases for collectors, such as Misty Motocross, Charlie Cargo, and Don Crumlin, among others. New releases were very boring and unoriginal, with a few exceptions. It was nice to get some new cabs, those being CB and vinyl toupe cabs, and collectors were finally granted the fixed eyes Wilma flats after so many years. Distribution was pretty good too, with most of the singles and deluxes being available in most parts of the world, although the 2-packs and side series were a completely different story. However, then the Cars 3 line came along in late April. Disappointingly, this was the cause of the cancellation of many diecasts in the pre-Cars 3 line that would have been excellent releases had they actually made the production, such as Christina Garcia, Lewis Hamilton's Pity, Kevin O'Brien, Amira Revsk, and the Cargoyle. This also resulted in the numbers for each series being left unfinished. So, for example, the Piston Cup Pit Crew series was set to have 6 diecasts, only 2 of which were released. Whereas in previous years, every slot in every series was filled, whilst the Cars 3 line brought a lot of collectors back in thanks to the new releases and the availability over distribution even of the diecast and the hype built around the movie, with the biggest level of Cars merchandising since Cars 2's release in 2011. However, a lot of the releases were very plain and boring, such as the Piston Cup races, which just felt like the same diecast with 500 different paint jobs, quite frankly. Other diecasts with unique molds such as Chickies with Headset, Natalie Certain, and Smokey were far over distributed. Natalie Certain remained peg warm until late 2019 or early 2020. The Thunder Hollow races were a godsend, however. Some of the best releases in years, they provided a lot of variety and enjoyment to a mainline that was otherwise very bland and boring. There was the occasional other release that slipped in that was nice, such as the other 3 Thomasville racing legends, which were Junior Moon, River Scott, and Louise Nash, as well as some others like Tiny Lugsworth, Morgan Martins, and Stu Scattershields. We also got lots of new haulers, which was quite nice. It also came without saying, especially considering that there would not be any haulers from the first two movies they could have re-released in the Cars repackaging. The only exception to that is Wally, even if he didn't officially appear in either movie, which actually means they can be re-released in any packaging. I wouldn't be surprised to see Marty in the packaged in as a Cars on the Road hauler. The collector cards, whilst a bit odd, were a great addition to the main line. The same goes for the mini races. Three massive negatives of the Cars 3 mainline were the distribution. Some die-casts remained on store shelves for years, and others were near impossible to find. The second negative being the glue on the blisters, which was near non-existent, allowing lots of blisters to fall off quite easily. There was the occasional die-cast that was taped up to stop this happening, but those are far and few between. Then there is the card back design. I can't even begin to explain how much I hate it. Whomever at Mattel approved it needs to be fired. No artwork, simply a half bland, half red, half black design with the Cars 3 logo. That's just sad. Final negative being the massive dip in quality of the diecast, with misprinted decals running rampant. All in all, the pre-2017 line was a lot better than people make it out to be, and the Cars 3 line was, for the most part, a massive disappointment, even if it gave us most new releases in years. As a whole, I give the 2017 mainline a 6 out of 10. Next up, we have the 2006 mainline, the OG. There's a card back the series that started it all. Whilst they definitely credit for being the foundation for the mainline we know and love today, it's very simplistic and absolutely pales in comparison to other years at the mainline. Something I think makes this mainline less significant to other years that every diecast release this year has been re-released several times throughout the years, with the exception of Rolling Ball and Mater. The ideas for the playsets were pretty good and quite creative though. I find them to be a lot more interesting and creative than the playsets they release nowadays. Overall, I give the 2006 mainline a 6.5 out of 10, and it would likely be ranked lower if it weren't for this being the first year of the Cars line. Coming in at 11th place, we have the 2019 mainline. Whilst 2019 was certainly not the best year for Cars, it was a definite improvement over the abominations that were 2017 and 2018. Once again, we started the year off with some awesome new releases, such as Leroy Hemming, Steve Herschel, Andrew Vrooman, and even World Grand Prix Globy. We got lots of new releases in each case, peaking at 8 new releases in Case E. Sadly, both the deluxes and 2-packs were heavily neglected, with the exception of the aforementioned World Grand Prix Globy. This is until the changeover to Blue Desert, which I'll be discussing soon. We also got 2 more brand new Piston Cup PDs, which were Bryn Imigar for Tarko Min and Mike Stockhart for Transproduce. It was great to see some more new ones in the mix after we got Megan Shifter in 2018. She was the first new Piston Cup PD we got since 2010. However, all of a sudden, the packaging design completely switched up halfway through the year, and we got what is now commonly referred to as the Blue Desert mainline. One positive is that it gave us the artwork front and centre instead of a minimalised artwork like on the previous car design from 2018. It gave us some more great re-releases such as Nacho Matsuo, Speedy Comet and Emmanuel Maniez. Whilst the rate of new releases heavily slowed down, we still got some gems such as Wheel Del Lee, Sweet Treat, and even the goddamn racing tractors. Got 2 here you can see, Shiny Wax Bumper Slave. We also got Rev and Go, and then they released a lot more in 2021, which I will talk about once I get up to my 2021 part of the video. The quality of Thailand releases certainly improved throughout the year, but still didn't reach that of China releases. 2019 is also known for being the year in which the XRS line was introduced, which, whilst a cool concept, was heavily a cash grab that existed solely to capitalise off the success of the T-Rock line. Late 2018, strong distribution remained consistent throughout 2019, with most single cases being available in most places around the world. However, there was the occasional Blue Desert singles case that was rather hard to find for most people. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff was cancelled in 2019, It would have been great had it actually been released, such as the crew chiefs for fibre fuel, Tarkament and Transproduce, and the racing tractors for combusted tank coat and no stall. There are also some nice re-releases that got cancelled, such as Coriander Track, Miles Axel Microphone, and Daizu and Edamame Sashimi. It was great that we got the stuff that was carried over from 2018, although it really made it feel like Mattel was playing catch up after crapping the bed the year beforehand, resulting in the first half of the 2019 mainline being 28 version 2, and Blue Desert scrambling to make a name for itself, but ultimately failing, being dominated by the 2020 part of the Blue Desert mainline. Whilst the first movie got slightly more attention in terms of releases, Cars 2 was basically neglected it again, which extremely disappointing comes as no surprise whatsoever. I give the 2019 mainline a 7 out of 10. Coming in at 10th place, we have the 2013 mainline. The 2013 mainline was certainly an improvement over 2012, and it was a game changer for cars without the slightest doubt. We finally got the return of diecast from the first movie into the mainline, as well as the beginning of plain diecast, which brought even more variety into the mix. Distribution massively improved from 2012, with most areas in the world getting most cases, although there was the occasional case that once again did end up being hard to find. The theme's concept returned from 2009, however, this time with much more visibility on the package. Whereas it was only noted on the name tag in 2009, it was made much more apparent in 2013, with the entire card back design being based around the character's respective theme. For example, Donna Pitts is in the Rusty's Racing Centre series, in which the card design is her standing outside the Rusty's tent, with the Rusty's Racing Series logo, and the back contains a description of the set series, plus a photo of Rusty and Dusty Rusty's. And some other releases that come in the series are also shown. However, the 2013 mainline did also have its massive detractors. The car design was massively taken up by the car's logo, resulting in the artwork and background feeling quite small and insignificant. In addition, a lot of the planes diecasts didn't sell very well, resulting in them being peg warmers for years to come. Ultimately, I give the 2013 mainline a 7 out of 10. Coming in at 9th place, we have the 2014 mainline. Personally, there's nothing about 2014 mainline that really sticks out to me. It's a fairly substandard mainline in my opinion. Some of the re-releases were really nice and felt long overdue, such as Todd the Pizza Planet Truck and Lizzie. Getting a measly 3 new releases from the first movie, down from last year's 8, was most certainly a slap to the face. However, on the positive side, some of the new releases we got from Cars 2 were great, such as Emmanuel, Alfredo, Marcelo and Marco, Karatika, and Trike Feldman, among many others. Distribution was fairly decent as well, with most of the cases being widely available. Yet again, overall, there's nothing that makes this mainline stand out in my opinion, although it wasn't a bad mainline either. I give it a 7 out of 10. Coming in at 8th place, we have the 2021 mainline, which was a definite improvement from the previous year's mainline. Mattel gave it their all this year without any doubt. When putting up the Walmart and Amazon listings, Mattel yet again advertised a lot of new releases, and a lot of interesting re-releases as well, like they've done several times throughout the years. However, unlike previous years, where most of the good releases advertised would end up being cancelled, Mattel in 2021 fulfilled their promise and delivered every single car. The only release to be cancelled this year was a re-release of Elvis RV. Countless new releases flowed into the mainline, with some great re-releases in the mix too, such as Dash Boardman, the Easter Buggy, Bob Pulley, Kingpin Nobunaga, and Mamba Newley. The metallic Scavenger Hunt Silver Collection releases were scrapped and replaced by a much more interesting, meaningful special edition series, Racing Reds, which were released to celebrate the 15th anniversary of the Cars franchise. Among the great new releases this year were the remaining members of Sweet Teen the Legends, more commonly known as the Pity Band, the NASCAR line, which gave us the long-awaited next-gen's response that didn't appear in Cars 3, such as Sidewall Shine and Fiber Fuel. The 4 remaining next-gens, Will Rush, M Fast Prong, Nick Shift and Jim Maverick, and most importantly, Derek Williams and Sarah Wilson. It's safe to say that these 2 are the most popular releases of the year. They got unanimous acclaim upon their reveals, most of which is because of the fact that they're RSN reporters from the first Cars movie, a group from which we've only gotten 2 new releases, 2010, Cora Coffer and Nelson Blindspot, and also just the fact that they're new releases from the first Cars movie, releases which are cherished by most, if not all, people nowadays, due to the good majority of releases being based off Cars 3. Some examples of ones that are based off Cars 3 didn't appear in the movie: Team 95, 51 Mater, Racing Red Jackson Storm, and so on. It was nice to see Mattel 1 cancel some cars this year, such as Robert Jam Jones, Hot Rod Lois Nash, Light McQueen in the Easter Buggy, and the Giga Chad Snowmobile. It was also nice to see them finish both the Hot Rods and the members of Sweet Tea and the Legends. Distribution was great in 2021, with most cases being quite easy to find across the world, Case B being a notable exception. Racing Red Mater, which was only released in Case B, currently goes for $100 and above online. It's also nice to see both the Christmas cars and launches make a return. However, the 2021 mainline doesn't come without its detractors either. The first problem is that there was not a lot of variety within the new releases, most of which were either tractors, Thomasville races, or next gens. To nobody's surprise, 2 packs and haulers got neglected yet again, with only 1 release from each group, Double Clutch Daily and Marty respectively. Marty being a substandard release that didn't even appear in the movie. This was also the first time in 10 years we didn't get any super chases in the main line. A group which had been a fan favourite and a staple of the line since 2012. Finally, whilst Mattel gave us a lot more new releases in this year than 2020, it still pales in comparison to 2019, which normally had 4 or 5 new cars in a case and peaked at 8 in 2019 singles Case E. The 2021 mainline tended to have 2 or 3 new releases per case, with the most new releases in a case being 5 new releases in 2021 singles Case F. Overall, Mattel showed a massive improvement with the 2021 mainline, and I give it a 5 out of 10. Excuse me if I'm slipping up. It is almost 1 AM when I am filming this. Coming in at 7th place with 2015 mainline. As per last year, not a whole lot about the 2015 mainline sticks out to me. I personally believe it was yet another substandard mainline. However, the quality of the new releases certainly improved this year, with us being given brand new car backs that show the background in much clearer light, and also really helped the artwork stand out with a much smaller car's logo that has now been placed in the top left corner. We finally started to get some nice releases from the first movie, such as Doug RM, Larry Camper, Benny Breakdrum, and the Circus Cars. We've got a lot of new releases from Cars 2, examples being Bruce Boxman, Archie, and Paul Oakley. Distribution was not great in 2015, with some cases being extremely easy to find and others being near extinct. Ultimately, I believe the 2015 mainline is worthy of a rating of 7.5 out of 10. Coming in at 6th place, we have the 2011 mainline, which in my opinion was another great year for cars. We started off with getting some more releases from both the Final Lap and Cars 2's lines to wrap up said lines. However, a massive downside of that was that a lot of great releases were cancelled to make way for the Cars 2 mainline, releases such as Race Damage Fabulous Hudson Hornet, made with cone teeth, and Modified Motor. However, when the Cars 2 mainline came along, it most certainly did not disappoint. While I've just included some of the core characters here, as you can see, we've got lots of releases with fantastic new molds. Just a few examples being Francesco Bernoulli, Tombe, Sal Macchioni, Zen Master Pity. We also got an amazing sub-series on Lights and Sounds, which, in my opinion, was something that no other similar side series, Lenticular, Rubber Tires, etc., could beat. Rubber Tires. Synthetic Rubber Tires is probably the only one that even comes close. However, there are also a few downsides to the 2011 mainline. Action Agents completely failed to live up to their predecessor, Mini Adventures, and with countless stores having exclusive Cars 2 products, made it extremely hard for collectors to keep up with all the stores that carried exclusive products. Finally, the treatment of Rip Clutch Gruneski was appalling. He was the only World Grand Prix racer to not be released in 2011, and in addition to that, he was excluded from the launch that was supposed to represent every racer, as well as the 10-pack containing every other World Grand Prix racer. A lot of the stuff was mass-produced too, when die-casts such as like Queen with Racing Wheels, Race Team Mater, Finn McMissile and Francesca Bernoulli becoming massive peg warmers for years to come. Whilst there was certainly room for improvement, I think the 2011 mainline turned out to be quite good and a great launchpad for Cars 2 releases. I give it an 8 out of 10. Coming in at 5th place, we have the 2007 Mainline Supercharged. This is where things started to get good. There's a lot more variety in this mainline, with lots of fresh new releases such as Bob Cutlass, Winford Bradford Rutherford, Ham, and Unity the Abominable Snowplow. However, a massive problem that came out of the Supercharged series was the recall of Sarge due to him having lead paint, which would have been a massive detractor if parents wanted to collect cars for their children. Mattel, however, did a great job of quickly fixing this problem, promptly releasing a lead-free Sarge. Supercharged Mainline was also the first mainline in which first looks were included in box sets, which at least gave people an incentive to buy said box sets, unlike 2006, in which all the die-casts and box sets were released as singles. Whilst there were certainly things that the Supercharged Mainline could have improved upon, ultimately I find it much better than the 2006 Mainline, and I give it an 8 out of 10. Coming in at 4th place, we have 2008 World of Cars. This mainline was damn near flawless, if I do say so myself. Whilst I admittedly have an emotional connection and nostalgia bias to the World of Cars mainline, due to it being the current mainline when I first started collecting in 2008, that is far from the only good thing about it. First off, the variety in releases absolutely skyrocketed. We've got the introduction of both Pities and Deluxes, which are both staples of the modern day Cars line. World Cars mainline has something for everyone, no matter whether you're into townies, Pities, crew chiefs, or everything in between. Additionally, this mainline suffered from no problems in distribution, if any. Very few problems in distribution, if any. It was also the first year in which the mini adventures were released, maybe even only because I'm not super versed in mini adventures, which are truly underrated releases that, whilst being plastic, have some truly fun and wacky releases that remain truly unmatched by the modern day mini races. Overall, the World of Cars mainline was certainly one of the peak moments for Cars merchandising, and I give it a 9 out of 10. So up to the final 3 now, it's going to get good. So in 3rd place we have 2010, the Final Lap mainline. 2010 was certainly an interesting year for the Cars line, although it was not as good as Race Obama. Overall, Cars merchandising was still a great year overall. This year's mainline was named Final Lap, which works in a sense because it was indeed the final year before Cars 2 was released. Some great cars were released this year, some of which have become very rare nowadays, such as Race Damage Mood Springs, Betty and Brian Park Motors. The Toons line continued strong, and Mattel expanded further upon the haulers and pit crew sets. The lenticulars also got an update with much more vivacious and realistic expressions. However, there were certainly a few problems to the 2010 mainline as well. Distribution was horrible, with the Final Lap singles being exclusive to US stores, a problem not yet faced in the Cars line until then. Other areas of the world didn't get much either. For example, here in Australia, we only got lenticulars, deluxes and haulers. However, 2010 remained, and still remains, one of the best years for the mainline in terms of new releases, and I give it a 9 out of 10. Coming in at 2nd place, we have the 2016 mainline. 2016, in my opinion, was really where the mainline started to find its feet again and get back to its roots and the same quality as it had in 2009 and 10. Coinciding with the franchise's 10th anniversary, we got countless new releases, and finally they evenly balanced out the releases from Cars 1 and 2, so what we were all asking for. Neither one was preferenced over the other. There's something for everyone in this mainline, with countless new releases such as race fans, reporters, lemons, pities. Also, we finally got World Grand Prix pities for the first time, woohoo! And even vendors from the Paris Pass market. The card backs this year look amazing as well, with a sleek, refined design for the theme logos, and the individualized backgrounds for each character make the artwork pop as always. Distribution was great in 2016 too, with most cases again being available in most parts of the world. The side series were great too, especially the Road Trip series. The only three faults have 2016 mainline of the Daredevil Garage logo, which actually got removed towards the end of the year anyway. So a small handful of 2016 singles without said logo, as well as Craig Faster and Alexis Wilson. Constant tape on blisters, although it's much better than not doing anything and letting the blisters fall off like they did in 2017. Last but not least, not getting a Carnival Cup Frosty, whereas all the other T-Rock series got their own Target Australia exclusive Frosty. It's carbon, neon, ice are the ones that come to mind, and silver. Overall, the 2016 line is near perfect. It was a great commemoration of the franchise's 10th anniversary. I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Finally, last but most certainly not least, coming in at last, for first place, we got 2009, the Racer-Rama mainline. Nobody will be able to sway my opinion that it was the peak for Cars merchandising. Quite possibly the only negative about it is that lenticulars were introduced, but personally, even those bring back a nostalgic sense for me. Otherwise, the mainline only got better. In 2009, we got countless new releases from groups such as Crew Chiefs, Pitties, Haulers, Deluxes, and even oddballs such as Paddy, Todd the Pete's Planet Truck, and Damage the King. Even though my Todd the Pete's Planet Truck is extremely damaged, I'm trying to refrain from showing super damaged diecast in this video. Come on, I could have not shown Todd the Pete's Planet Truck. He is a Chad. This was actually the first year for Haulers as well. Additionally, we also got the beginning of the Storytellers and Cartoons lines, both of which brought countless new releases and fan favourites of many cars collectors nowadays. Distribution was great this year too, and there were very few inaccuracies, if any, on the diecast and their packaging. Also, Frank, need I say more? There were a few cancelled releases that would have been nice to get. The Reverend Go and Mood Springs PDs come to mind, and the Shiny Wax from Gasprin Haulers. They might have been Final Lap, but I'm pretty sure they were Racer-Rama. Correct me if I'm wrong though. Overall, 2009 mainline deserves a 10 out of 10, and as such, that is what I will be rating it. Nothing Mattel ever does nowadays will be able to top it. So that is it, everyone, for my comprehensive ranking of all the years of the Cars Diecast mainline. So I do hope you all enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on my ranking. If there's anything I missed. Whether you what point you agree with, what point you disagree with. Once again, thank you very much to Sensei Luminous for helping me out with this video. I appreciate your help more than you'll ever understand, man. And yeah, so please remember to like, subscribe, comment, favourite, share, and as always, I'll see you all in the very next video.